going to talk through one of the pieces we did and then look at other pieces that are going after the same keyword to try to distinguish the differences in the way that we write versus how most other blog writers are writing going after the same keyword.
Watch how we, the TapClicks article, write it in a way that doesn't come across as just this like inanely obvious beginner level thing. And I'm gonna start reading some of this because the details matter. This is an episode about writing. Commonly, the term omnichannel is used to describe sales and marketing activities centered around touch points of the customer journey, letting customers buy online, in-store, and/or third-party marketplaces like eBay and Amazon. Seems like a ho-hum sentence, right? But there's some nuances in just the way we write it that makes it not come across as just like boring marketing content.
In today's episode, we're going to talk about how to write non-basic content. So basically why our content is different from most of the content that you see in the search results. So we're going to talk through a piece that we did. I don't know if you have multiple examples of pieces.
I'm just going to do one.
Okay, we're going to talk through one of the pieces we did and then look at other pieces that are going after the same keyword to try to distinguish the differences in the way that we write versus how most other blog writers are writing going after the same keyword.
Let's do it. So I want to, before I start screen sharing and getting into the details, and for those listening on the podcast, like I will try my best to read what I'm reading, but we're going to be screen sharing to show stuff. I want to talk about this one principle that we say to a lot of prospects, Benji, of like, there's two goals that the writing of the piece after you've identified your target keyword needs to accomplish. Goal number one, it needs to rank, because like even if you have 100% conversion rate and the piece is awesome, what's the point if it's not getting traffic? So that's the first goal. Like in that order, it needs to rank, which means you need to do like some satisfying of Google's like search intent and algorithm stuff. And number two, it needs to convert. And we're going to use an example of like kind of an advanced, expensive B2B marketing analytics software client of ours. Historically, they're not a current client. It has an advanced customer. Like this is like advanced marketing analytics, not GA. Although GA can do stuff that most people don't realize. And it's an advanced customer. Most people think, and we did a previous episode on this idea of thought leadership, and it kind of touches on this, but most people think those two goals are kind of in conflict. Like they think like, oh, if I need to create content to rank in Google and satisfy intent, like by nature, that's going to be basic content. That's the reason I wanted to do this episode on this. The keyword we're going to look at is omnichannel reporting. And that keyword is, like it's just omnichannel reporting, not omnichannel reporting tools, not omnichannel reporting examples. There's no it's just that term omnichannel reporting. On the surface, in fact, let's just start sharing a screen so I can show a few specific things here. So I have the SERP up for omnichannel reporting. So this was our ex-client of a long time, actually, TapClicks, and we're ranking number one. But if you look at people also ask, and if you just think about this keyword in general, it has the sort of the makings of what could end up being basic.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. It almost seems like a beginner level keyword because a lot of things are saying, what is omnichannel reporting? And omnichannel reporting in itself is you're not searching for omnichannel reporting tools, which indicates you're searching for a specific tool around this. But to us that know this space, and probably to the client as well, omnichannel reporting does indicate some level of sophistication. You're not just looking for like what is reporting or what is analytics. You're looking for something very specific, that there's very specific use cases where you would need omnichannel reporting. And so to us, it actually indicates a more advanced user that is searching for an advanced piece of analytics.
Right. So then if we think about the normal writing process, it's very easy to slip into this basic thing, because the normal process would be, oh, we've identified this keyword, and you just hand it over to a freelance writer or someone, and you say, go write about omnichannel reporting. And as we have talked about a lot in our past content, I don't know if we've said it in any of the videos or podcasts of this series, that is what we refer to as a Google research paper, which is like a student like doing a research paper for school and just Googling a topic and kind of regurgitating for the teacher in their essay, like what that topic says. That's kind of what the normal freelance writer process would be. And that's why you see post after post kind of saying like beginner level things. So that's what we're going to get into. So those are the two goals of writing this kind of like SEO content meant to convert. Number one, you have to write to rank and satisfy this kind of search intent here. But number two, you have to write to convert, which means you have to satisfy the kind of questions and doubts and whatever of the target customer. So the first one is writing for a Google algorithm. And people think that means you're going to have to make basic content. But the second one is writing for a human, your target customer, impressing them, answering their pain points. And I think there's just this ethos that those are in conflict and you can't do both. So everyone ends up writing for Google, which is just this basic thing. Also, side note, it's kind of harder to write for the human because that's more advanced writing. So it's kind of convenient that content marketers are just like, well, we're going to write for Google. We're going to write basic content. Basic content is easier to produce. So that's it. So I'm going to go through various examples. What we have done, so I want to get to the end conclusion first and support that with the examples. What I want to hopefully show in this video to anyone watching that can improve their writing, that wants to know how their team should improve or whatever, that has the sneaking suspicion, why is the content or blog content that me, my team, my company is producing is just like not that good or good enough, okay? To pull this off and write non-basic content, even for a keyword that seems basic, I have come upon like a few themes that I want to touch back on in these examples. Number one, you need to know ahead of time what your unique opinions or points that you or your brand want to make. If you do the Google research paper thing and you ask some writer who's not an employee or whatever, who's just trying to figure this out on their own, just like like you're a freelance writer we hired to write blog content, go write about omnichannel reporting. You will not get like unique insights unless they just happen to be a subject matter expert. And that's really a dangerous way to produce it because no one who's knowledgeable from your team on this topic of omnichannel reporting has given them any information. Number two, you need to know beforehand how you're going to tie your product in. Like the other theme I'm going to talk about in terms of conversion is how a lot of these other posts, I'm going to look primarily at position 2 and 3, segment, very well-known brand in terms of like marketing analytics and omnichannel reporting because by its tool like brings in data from a bunch of different sources, and dash this, which is like a kind of like a dashboarding tool, kind of like a lower in the market, like cheaper in the market competitor of TapClicks. We're going to primarily look at these two. My second principle was like, know how you're going to tie in the product. They don't really. They do this classic thing in content marketing where they kind of like shy away from it. And that's a fallacy. People think omnichannel reporting, like, content is made to give value and to educate and don't be pushy with the content. The majority of the piece that we wrote that's ranking number 1 sells tap clicks, and we're going to show that. And then the last principle I want to keep touching on here is write like you are talking in a coffee shop to a human who is your target customer. Because if you're talking to someone who's your target customer, no one says the nonsense, inane, beginner level nonsense that people write into blog posts. You just would never speak that out of your mouth, but people are willing to write it. And we'll see multiple examples of that. So let's get started with the intros. Okay, so I'm going to start with the TapClicks example, which is what we wrote, ranking number 1. And I'm not going to read like every word start to finish, but you can follow along if you really want to try to understand this. I'm going to look at, actually, I'm going to go past the intro and start with this first section, what is omnichannel reporting? So again, this is the section, like it's the first people also ask. It also kind of makes sense because they literally Googled omnichannel reporting, and anyone who does SEO knows that in these kind of keywords, Google almost always ranks pieces that do the what is and then the thing you Googled. So it's kind of this like necessary evil in writing this SEO content. But watch how we, the TapClicks article, write it in a way that doesn't come across as just this like inanely obvious beginner level thing. Okay? And I'm going to start reading some of this because the details matter. This is an episode about writing. Commonly, the term omnichannel is used to describe sales and marketing activities centered around touch points of the customer journey. letting customers buy online, in-store, and or third-party marketplaces like eBay and Amazon. Seems like a ho-hum sentence, right? But there's some nuances in just the way we write it that makes it not come across as just like kind of, like boring marketing content. Even the word commonly, we use that here to sort of say, not like we're just telling you the truth. We're saying this is the normal, like most people use this, and this is kind of that coffee shop language I'm saying, right? And yes, it's not purely like, and when you're speaking to a human, most people don't use the word commonly like in like conversation. They're not like, Benji, commonly the term omnichannel, like I get that, but that's one example, right? We're adding some little bit of nuance, and then look how we list specific channels. It's about letting customers buy online, in store. We don't just say it's about letting customers buy through a variety of channels, which we'll see in a second. We list them: buy online, buy in store, or third party marketplaces like eBay or Amazon.
Well, also, I think it's important to explain why, though, because tap clicks help solve part of this problem. So if you're a prospect and you are looking for reporting capabilities on these platforms, immediately it speaks to you and says, look, we understand the challenge that you're trying to solve. Where as opposed to what you said, a lot of the other pieces just say omni-channel is for reporting on multiple channels at once. It being specific here is important.
Yeah. So then the next sentence says, look, to help brands do this, there are tools that monitor data across the channels. Then watch what we do in the second and third, or the last two paragraphs. There's a however. This is important. We're setting up this twist that is going to set up a lack or a need, a hole in the like landscape to set up our ability to sell tap clicks, and saying, look, our tool, our clients, but like, from our tool's ability to, we can solve these problems. And that sentence goes like this. However, from a reporting perspective, the omnichannel approach requires that brands have the tools to gather this data from all the channels they use. We italicized all. Then they need to transform, calculate, standardize, or manipulate that data. You don't have to know what all of those things mean, but know that in this space of omni-channel like data analysis, marketing data analysis, there's this idea of transforming and manipulating the data is really important, because tool number one, or like channel number one, Amazon, may report on data in a different way. Like imagine they use page views, and then like GA on your main site uses users. And if you're trying to understand, and then your like Facebook ads uses views or something like this, and all of them are a traffic metric, and you're trying to understand and compare which channel is working the best, you first need to standardize those metrics. So this is a nuance. Actually, this is actually a good point. I wasn't even planning on saying this, but this is a nuance only someone who's like been in this space would even know to put in here. But it being in the piece, what you won't even notice as an outsider unless I'm pointing it out, like just again, what seems like a ho-hum sentence, then they need to transform, calculate, standardize, and manipulate that data, has in it stuff that tells like an educated customer, target customer, prospect that maybe has had issues with omni-channel reporting, is maybe in the market for an expensive enterprise grade tool like TapClicks. They'll resonate with that. They'll be like, oh yeah, this was this huge problem. I had to hire these data analysts or whatever and pay them a full salary to like, standardize this data across all of our marketing channels. Like you don't know that if you have not interviewed, like if this piece and the argumentation in this piece is not informed by a subject matter expert inside the company. And that's why we use like interview based things. You can't, you're freelance writer that's Googling around, even if they say like, I'm a subject matter expert because look at my portfolio, I've written on B2B, marketing for a long time. It's very difficult to get to that.
One thing before you get to that, just on the subject matter expert, there was a prospect that we had like last week or 2 weeks ago that said, oh, we need to interview subject matter experts just in the industry overall, not inside the company. I think they were worried about just taking company time for the interviews.
No. You said we need to interview. We told them our process involves interviewing, and they were like, "Oh, I don't know if like our employees are gonna have time for that or something like that."
Yeah, but they were suggesting interviewing just industry experts, not subject matter experts inside of the company. And the problem with that approach, which is something that we initially tried in the very beginning of our business, just interviewing just subject matter experts. So like finding some omni-channel reporting expert and interviewing them for this article, is that they might not have the same point of view around this kind of stuff. So that needing to transform, calculate, standardize, or when we get down to the next section, you'll see that tools do pieces of this, but not the whole thing. And just so from the point of view of the perspective of the industry expert, they might not have the same point of view on attacking this problem or the solutions to the problem as you, as the subject matter expert inside of the company. And the subject matter expert inside of the company can also help weave in the sales positioning of the product, whereas someone from the industry, they might get the overall pieces right to like the overall argumentation right to inform the piece, but it doesn't weave in the product sales part. And so that's just why we interview, because this now really relates to the problems the customer may face, and then specifically how TapClicks can help solve this problem, and where other tools or other methods may fall short.
Yeah, if you interviewed some outside subject matter expert, they would not. I don't think they would include this sentence because we included it in order because we know that this is a strength of TapClicks, and we're setting up the pitch. It's going to come. And they're not going to do that for you. They're not a TapClicks person. Okay. And then it ends with the prop. So we say, look, from a reporting perspective, if you want to do it right, you need to get the data from all your channels, and you need an ability to like transform and standardize and manipulate that data. The problem is, the last sentence, most reporting tools don't easily extract data from all channels, and they don't let you easily store, transform, or standardize it. So we're setting that up. Now let's contrast to the segment one. Same section. It's actually their first section. They don't have an intro. What is omnichannel analytics? So notice it's analytics, Google's reporting. Google is suggesting that that's synonymous. That's totally normal and fine. So they start off saying, omnichannel analytics is the practice of gathering and analyzing data on customer interactions across all the channels. Fine, like it's a little bit generic, but that's okay. We have something like that at the beginning. The purpose of this analysis, second sentence, the purpose of this analysis is to give customers a seamless, personalized experience. Here, jargon is starting to enter. What does this mean? And I'm getting into the details, but like, I'm sorry, this episode is about writing, and the writing is about the details. I edit this, and we talk about this with mostly new. Our established writers don't really do this. I always sort of make fun or like poke at that word seamless because it's such a classic B2B jargony word. The purpose of this analysis is to give customers a seamless experience. What does that mean? It was like, oh, it like doesn't change between this, that, and the other. Also, like, we're talking about analytics and reporting, a seamless, personalized experience. I'm not sure that that's the purpose of the analysis.
Yeah. It almost sounds like personalization.
Right.
It
That's
almost sounds
right.
like they're trying to sell personalization software, not analytics to help distinguish marketing between channels.
Yeah. Omnichannel analytics or reporting, if you talk to any human, the number one goal of it is to know which channels are doing better and which channels are profitable.
Yeah, even look at that second paragraph when you invest in omni-channel personalization. So like, how did we get from talking about omni-channel analytics to now personalization?
Yeah. The person, always go back to what they Googled and what they're likely to find out. The person was typing in omnichannel reporting. And we're already, like you mentioned, 2 paragraphs in, you're just starting to sell omnichannel personalization. When you invest in omnichannel personalization, comma, you boost your bottom line. That's like saying someone Googles like best way to count calories or like best calorie counter app. And then, well, I guess that's not it, but like calorie counting. And then it's like, when you pay attention to what you eat, you can transform your body. You're like, yeah, like I Googled calorie counting. Like I'm already trying to count my calories, dude. Like can we just talk about it? Like that's what's essentially happening. And these are all these subtle things that if you just kind of like glance at these pieces, you'll be like, yeah, they're all SEO pieces. They all look the same. What is omnichannel analytics? You have that in both pieces. But when you read it, When you start reading this, even though
This doesn't make sense to me. Like if I was coming in just looking for omnichannel analytics and I'm two sentences in and the whole everything here down starts talking about personalization, I'm like, this is not the problem I'm trying to solve for. I'm trying to do reporting here, not personalization.
right. Every sentence looks like very professional. It's like written well, but it reeks of like this uncomfortableness that you're describing, right? Where you're like, what am I reading? Like, this doesn't quite make sense. And then it starts to give you this idea of, well, this isn't teaching me anything. Like, this is just not expert level like content. Like, what is this? What am I? I'm not learning anything. And then continues and it does a thing that we have talked about, I don't know, with each other a bunch and maybe on Twitter and stuff. The next sentence after that is, after we surveyed over 3,000 businesses and customers across 5 continents, we found that 49% of consumers would buy again from a brand after a personalized shopping experience. I shouldn't giggle. I'm being a little bit, like mean, but still. On the other hand, 62% of consumers said a generic experience was enough for them to move forward from a brand
But
for good.
what
What?
does this have to do with omnichannel analytics? Okay, again, we're pulling now stats about personalization has nothing to do with the key topic.
And we're 2 paragraphs in. We're not like deep into post where it's like, hang on, let's give an aside. By the way, I could find a way to tie this in, right? You can imagine deep in the piece, we could say, by the way, all of this omni-channel reporting is often used to support a larger goal for brands, which is a, personalized, like an omni-channel experience where their customers can go to any channel and get like a consistent experience of their brand. Like, you could maybe do that. It'd be a little bit of an aside. We're 2 paragraphs in. They have not connected the dots for us. And this is what I mean. Like, the details of what you write matter. That even if you just surface level skim it, it looks like it's totally great. Look, oh, they have their own survey. They like use statistics. Like, our writers tell us that other companies and agencies they've written for, before working with and at Grow and Convert, have literally been like, you need X number of statistics like in your piece. Like, that's like a requirement. So like does this. Just forget the fact that it's about personalization, which already you're right, Benji, to point out that's kind of weird. Can I just point out that I don't get these statistics and how they support it? First of all, across 5 continents, we found that 49% of consumers would buy again from a brand after a personalized shopping experience. Is that good? Like, it
Yeah, I
just
was gonna say it's below
it's
50%.
below
So are you
50%.
are you really making a good case for using a personalized shopping
Right.
experience?
And then so that's like subtly in there. It's like below 50%. So you're like, well, actually 51% say they would not, it doesn't matter to them. But their next sentence explicitly denigrates their own point. On the other hand, 62% of consumers, which, by the way, 62 and 49 don't add up to 100, they add up to greater than 100, but we'll leave that aside. 62% of consumers said a generic experience was enough for them to move on from a brand for, sorry, I misread it. To move on from a brand for good. So if it was generic, they would move on from a brand. It's just like, and then they followed up with more like generic stuff. Daryl Bowden, executive VP at Fox Corporation, describes it this way, quote, when you use any of our apps, you should be greeted like an old friend. Like, it's just like spending a lot of time saying all of this nonsense to you.
But I think that the key thing is like the introduction to us is one of the most important pieces of the piece because it's what hooks the reader and it shows the reader you either have expertise or not. Like a lot of people are making this case, oh, long form content is going away. No one wants to read anymore. Well, like if you got to this piece and you started reading 3 paragraphs in and it had nothing to do with what you were searching for, and it's talking about personalization, and here you are, some executive trying to figure out how to do better omni-channel reporting, you're already gone. You lost them already because this shows that you don't understand their problems, you don't understand their pain points, you're not speaking to them. You're kind of just using these broad claims. And so again, I agree with you that the details matter because this to me, if I was searching for an omni-channel reporting tool, I would have bounced already because I'm like, I don't even understand what this has to do with what I'm searching for.
Yeah. And then while we're soapboxing, the other thing that drives me crazy about this is all over. Like what we're reading about from Segment here, this is all over B2B marketing content. especially this kind of mid and top of the funnel stuff. Like it's going after a keyword of like this concept, and then there's a section. What is this concept? Like this is very common. A lot of people say this is what content marketing should be, and the bottom of the funnel stuff of like best X software, whatever, like for whatever reason, like, you know, don't waste time, whatever. And so this top of the funnel content is going to build whatever, like the brand loyalty or something. If you write it in this way, how is this helping your brand? You know what I mean? Like if you're writing it this way, this is not thought leadership. What are you leading? You know what I mean? And so, and then the final thing, and I was going to save this for the end, but I might as well bring it up now and then harken back to it. Before we hit record here, I went into ChatGPT, which is the tab I'm showing now. I've now moved to a ChatGPT tab where all I wrote to ChatGPT real quickly is, and I know the last time I did something like this, people were like, "Well, your prompt wasn't detailed enough, Devesh." So fine, it's just to illustrate an example. I wrote, "Write an introduction to a blog post about 500 words on omni-channel reporting." And ChatGPT has the first section be what is omni-channel reporting. And then it says omni-channel reporting is more than just a buzzword. That's kind of funny, actually. It's a strategic imperative for businesses seeking to thrive in the digital age. Like this is exaggerated, right? Like this is why people make fun of AI content. Like this is like buzzword. Wasn't there some buzzword bingo game? It's a strategic imperative for. I like how it says it's more than just a buzzword. It's a strategic imperative for businesses seeking to thrive in the digital age, which is only buzzwords.
Yeah, it's almost like hearing a corporate executive speak on this though. And it's similar to how people introduce their pieces, as we'll see in future examples here.
Yeah. But they kind of do the same thing. Like so outside of that kind of really silly AI written line, then it says like at its core, omnichannel reporting involves collection, analysis, and interpretation of data of multiple channels. That's true. Like anyone's going to write that because that's what it is. That definition doesn't change. Whether you write it as a human or the computer writes it, the definition of omnichannel reporting is reporting from omni-channels, like multiple channels. That just kind of is normal.
Look at the next paragraph. This goes to exactly what you're saying. Read sentence two.
In today's interconnected world, customers expect a seamless experience across all channels, and omnichannel reporting provides the means to deliver just that. I'm sorry, and if whoever wrote the segment piece, thank God there's no like author byline. If you see this video, you can totally yell at me and say I'm being really mean, but like the reality is, how different is the ChatGPT what is omnichannel reporting section from segment? Whoever wrote this would argue, Davis, it's very different. We have unique data from our survey. True. We have this quote from like, I don't know, presumably one of their customers. Like, true. But as per what we analyzed, like, does your data and the quote really say anything? Like the data and the quote combined, all that's doing is saying, by the way, like a bunch of people think like a multi-channel personalized experience is a good thing. ChatGPT says the same thing. What is ChatGPT not saying? To toot our own horn, it's not getting into the nuances of what we had, which is, by the way, to really do it properly, you need all the channels. All is italicized. You also need to, none of these are saying, and I'll get to the third example, none of them are saying, by the way, a key thing is you need to be able to transform, calculate, standardize, or manipulate that data. The last example is from Dash This, and that intro is just like classic. Converting customers across, Dash This is like almost a direct competitor. It's like a dashboard that you can pipe in a bunch of different marketing channels and dashboard graph and visualize all the data. Converting customers across all touch points is essential to any e-commerce business strategy. Today, it is more essential than ever in a world where customers face unlimited choices and businesses are up against increasing competition. Like this is, I'm sorry, but this is the stuff that ChatGPT writes.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I
And
was
if
gonna
this is what
say.
you're producing, this is why it's a threat to you. Is that too harsh? I don't know.
No, no, I agree. I think this one, that example seems more similar to the segment one. The segment one, you could argue, okay, you have like unique data, you have some like customer quotes, but I think at the end of the day, it doesn't really say anything. It's just like using those quotes and the surveys to just like fluff up the piece and kind of seem like it's more relevant. This one is just like next level, just it's not really saying anything. And it's just typical blogger style intro where you lead with omni-channel reporting and saying omni-channel reporting is important. It's like, okay, well, I wouldn't be reading this piece if I didn't think it was important. Like it just make it. There's no reason to put that in your piece.
Yeah, and there's all this filler content that I've said with some newish writers, including writers that end up not working out, where I'm like training and training and training them. And we talked about that in our last video of like our last update is we spend an inordinate amount of time training writers because so many people have these bad habits and we're trying to like take that out of them. When I notice a writer is unsure and not confident about what they're trying to say, they fill the space to like deal with that anxiety. They fill the space with business jargon. Like if we continue on the dashes example, but spreading your marketing campaign across social media, Shopify, email marketing, and more, it can be challenging to get a real-time view of what's working, what isn't working, blah, blah, blah. Yet, for a business to succeed, it needs to have this knowledge. Like,
Yeah, why? You don't need to put that there.
right.
Doesn't say
They're saying
anything.
the same thing. They're just like, omnichannel reporting is actually really important because people are selling on multiple channels. And then they say it again. And then they say it again. The next sentence after, yet for a business to succeed, it needs to have this knowledge is omnichannel reporting is the essential solution to this problem. I think this, I'm not in writers' heads, but I've worked with so many and trained so many and tried so hard. Like they're trying to make it work with us. We're trying to make it work and it hasn't. When that hasn't happened, what I've noticed is a lack of confidence, like, and a lack of being sure of what are you trying to say. And that's why I started off saying, know your unique opinions, know how you're going to tie in your product and explain it like you would to a normal human being. Nobody talks like this. If you were sitting across the coffee shop table with someone who's like, "Hey man, I'm working at, Walmart.com and we have all these channels and we sell across all this and I need like a tool," and you literally are a representative of one of the tools, you would never be like, "Benji, for a business to succeed, you need to have this knowledge." Like you don't say that out loud. But like they're just filling space because they don't know what else to say. Okay. Example number 2, let's get into some meat of it. The segment example has this next section that says, and I want to talk about devolving into jargon. This starts off actually really good and promising and starts to get specific. The section is titled, Why You Need an Omnichannel Approach to Analytics and Reporting. So we talked about defining it, what is, and now it's like motivating it. What I really like about it is the first paragraph because it gets into a specific example. It says, say a customer visits your website and responds to a chatbot on your homepage. The customer expresses interest in one of your products. Chatbot hands them off to sales for a call. Sales rep shouldn't have to ask what product the customer is interested in. They should build on the previous conversation. That's true. And that's like, now it's like a real concrete example of like, you're saying like, this is an example of like an omni-channel experience working well. Benji, your objection still applies.
Yeah,
We're talking
I'm
about,
like still like, okay, but what does that have to do with the reporting? This is again an omni. You're talking about omni-channel personalization.
yeah,
So like I don't
okay.
even get how this is ranking because I'm just like this has nothing to do with the same topic.
Yeah. By the way, another aside, since our thing, this show is full of a bunch of rants on the side, which we get specific feedback, including we got today, that it's entertaining, and maybe this is why. Um, you're not. If only ranking on Google was only a function of the quality of your content. That would be nice, but it matters that this is segment.com bought by Twilio and everyone talks about segment. So like what's helping their SEO is their product. People don't talk about this in SEO, right? Just the ubiquity of
Or
the
just
product.
their brand. It's like how big their brand is. They're a large brand, and so yeah, technically they should have more expertise on analytics than other smaller businesses.
So let's just leave aside Benji's objection, which is fair, but just pretend like it's okay for them to talk about omni-channel experience. They gave a nice specific example. Like if somebody comes in on a chatbot, they get hands over to a rep, the rep should know what product they were interested in. That's like omni-channel like experience, right? They don't build on that. Then it devolves into jargon because there's nothing more to say. This is what I mean. The writer I can tell is just now like, well, I need to fill space and I only had this one example. Like literally their thing of why do you need it is just this example because it's obviously good. So they say then this example is small facet of the experience, blah, 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 blah. Then they say marketers analyzing. Anyway, they say like, they bullet point these benefits. And the first one is it prevents data silos. So it says prevent data silos. Omnichannel analytics and reporting prevent data silos by revealing customer behavior and interactions across channels. This is
I don't know what
true.
that means. Yeah, but I don't know what that means because it's not specific enough. Like, okay, so give an example of how like what data are you trying to analyze? and like revealing customer behavior and interaction, like what specifically? Like again, if I was someone trying to research this stuff, I'm like, you're just basically repeating the same thing again. You're not really giving any specifics.
That's exactly what I wanted to point out. So you're right. It's jargony enough to where you're like, first of all, what are you saying? But even if you buy what they're saying is like omni-channel analytics lets you see all of the data, and the data is not siloed like the Amazon sales data is in Amazon and the eBay sales data is in eBay and your e-commerce is in Shopify or whatever, right? So, well, let's just give them that. If we give them that, what I'm noticing is all they're doing now over and over again in this part is repeating the definition of the word omnichannel. Not strictly, but effectively. Omnichannel analytics and reporting prevent data silos by revealing customer behavior and interactions across channels. Dude, that's what the term omnichannel analytics means. Like, everybody knows that just by hearing the term. And then the next bullet does it again. So the first bullet's like header was prevent data silos, and then it had that definition. Now the next bullet, it's a separate bullet, is gain a 360 view of the customer journey. Isn't that kind of, if you're not siloing the data and you're revealing customer behavior interactions across your channels, which was explained in the previous bullet, isn't that the same thing as saying gain a 360 view of customer journey? Is it just to insert that jargony phrase 360 view? And then it says, the explanation of that says it again. With Omnichannel Analytics, you see how and where your customer has interacted with your brand. That's literally what we've just been talking about for like the previous whatever sentences. And this is also common I see with writers, just like they're not sure what to say. The reality is they didn't have anything to say about why do you need it beyond that first example of like they come in via chatbot, talk to a rep, the rep should know what they asked for in the chatbot. So they're just kind of repeating it over and over again. Okay, so that's that. In contrast, okay, we say this like to be truly, we already said before in what is, to be truly, so I'm going to the tap click example, I'm sharing the tap click screen now. We already said in the what is omnichannel reporting that in our post we wrote, look, the key is you need to bring in all channels. Now watch our next section and just look and listen to how the tone, how specific it is in comparison. The section is titled Why Most Reporting Tools Struggle with Omnichannel Reporting. Already, that's giving you some nuance, right? So it says, many retail businesses use multiple tools, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to skip over that. These disparate tools include native dashboards, e.g. Shopify. God, I could even pause there and talk for 15 minutes about how important that is. Business intelligence tools, e.g. Tableau, and extract, transform, load, also known as ETL tools, Supermetrics. Like, instead of just talking this random, like saying omnichannel is bringing in data from multiple channels, omnichannel analytics is bringing in data from multiple channels. We are now, this is what I think is like talking, this is how you would talk to a person at a coffee shop. You'd be like, all right, dude, you don't know anything about omnichannel? Let me explain it to you. There's a few different tools, okay? First is like your native dashboards. Then there's like BI tools like Tableau. Then there's ETL tools like Supermetrics. Right? Like it just is, it's just totally different. We're like talking specifics now. And then I'm going to continue. Some of these tools may work as one element of your omnichannel reporting, but they're all inadequate because they don't have the key characteristic we outlined above, which is like they don't bring in all of the stuff. And then we go bucket by bucket. For example, a native dashboard like Shopify has standard charts and data for e-commerce side, but only has access to the Shopify data. Even if you have multiple Shopify stores, you can't aggregate data from different Shopify accounts. It's not possible to integrate with marketing platforms like Facebook ads and Twitter, let alone your other sales data like Amazon and eBay. And then we do that for BI, we do that for ETL. To me, and I know I'm biased, right? Like I think I helped edit this post like years ago. Like it's just talking at a different level. Like this is like specific human stuff. You don't leave reading this being like, what did they say? Why are we saying the same thing again? Like we're already going into specific examples and be like, here is why the native dashboard inside Shopify, which is one of your multiple channels, isn't good enough. It actually can't integrate. Oh, actually, if you have multiple Shopify stores, even then you don't have one dashboard. How would you even know to write that without having that kind of domain expertise? We're not omnichannel experts because we interview them. And then we write in a specific way. Okay, and then the last example I'm going to give is one that's ranking way down in like the second page. But I wanted to kind of, I was kind of curious, like, are these same problems here, like on positions 2 and 3? Because someone could object and be like, well, Davish, like, you're ripping segment and dash this, but they're 2 and 3, which is like pretty good. That's right, like they are 2 and 3, and that is pretty good. So I went to one called like Mandala AI, which I've never heard of before. But it looks like it's like a tool that does this, right? Mandala Analytics. You can like see a little ad on the right hand side. And this is now deep inside, like kind of the how to section of the post. Like we're past kind of the intro stuff. And it says, and it starts to give advice. So if we just look at the headers, it does this thing like key metrics and data points, blah, blah, blah. It has so much like just jargony stuff that we've talked about. But number one, identify the omnichannel metrics relevant to your business. You can identify the metrics that truly matter to your business by pinpointing key performance indicators such as this, that, and the other. Decide on a data sourcing strategy. And this just highlights one of my key points in writing is don't say stuff that everyone already knows, right? Or at least if you say it in a way where you say, of course, obviously. Like, of course, people need to identify the metrics that are important to your business. Also, you don't need to tell anyone that. Like anyone in the business is obsessed with the metrics that are relevant to their business. It's just like, again, it like reeks of, well, I don't know what to say, so I'm just going to say a bunch of obvious stuff. And then that's going to get me into going on a deep dive of how we tied in tap clicks. Okay. So like people, the last thing, and we'll close after this, is we started off this episode saying like, also in a keyword like omnichannel reporting, we found a way to tie in and sell the product, and here's how, right? So everything I said on the tap clicks post, we set up like, here's what a good tool should do. It should put in data from all your sources. It should automate the calculation and transformation of that data, and you should be able to scale it. And then we talked about what reporting is. We talked about the weaknesses. We talked about why like native dashboards and all these other tools are not enough. And then we go into like, here's how our tool fulfills those three characteristics. Number one, tap clicks and connect to all of your data sources, including in-store POS systems. So comparing again, while your competitors, if you do this, while your competitors are saying the most obvious stuff, like identify the stuff related to your business, decide on your data sourcing strategy, like what does that even mean? My strategy is to get all of my data into one place. That's literally what I'm Googling, right? Instead of that, we're now saying, here's what we can do. We can actually connect to all of them. And we explain like the details of how Taplix does. And I'm not going to say the details, but it says like, we have built-in connectors to over 250 like common marketing sources. And later Tapclicks has this tool called a smart connector, where if you have some obscure data source where you're selling stuff that is not Shopify, that's not Amazon, it's some obscure one that's not one of the 150, they actually have this feature called a smart connection where you can like create a custom connection and grab that data from any of your sources. So it truly can be a place where all of your data goes into it. Then number two, all these other posts are just like assuming if you've just like grabbed and sourced the data from all of your places, you're done. If you notice that, they just kind of assume that. You're just like, well, like omnichannel means like grabbing data from multiple channels and then you're done. Like, actually, you're not done. You grab the data and the data is like formatted in different ways. The like denominators are different. The metrics they use are different. What are you going to do? And then we go into factor number two. We have a way to like automatically turn view, like equate and standardize views versus page views versus users versus sessions or whatever, right? And we go in, like, look at the detail. So what do we mean by a product metric? And we go into specific examples. Let's say you simply want to add up the sales of each product from different sales sources like your retail POS, your e-commerce site, etc. You need to do this every month. Normally, you'd have a spreadsheet. All product A sales are on those channels, B, plus. And then we go into like how the spreadsheet would work and how ours would work. We give specific screenshots. If you are like, how does my brand have really good writing? How do we make good writing? Like, this is how. It is not easy. It is not fast. It cannot be done by ChatGPT. I'm sorry, at least not today. If you want to like save this video and then like come back to me 10 years later when ChatGPT can do this, so be it. And so like this is how we sell it. And if we scroll through like segment post, they don't actually sell segment. Like there's this one part inside it where it says, there's somewhere where they say like, use some different tools or whatever. Oh yeah, like there's 3 tools for doing it. There's customer data platforms like Segment, there's data and analytics tools like Qualtrics, and there's ETL tools like these other ones. And then they just say how to implement it, consolidate your data. Oh, I guess they do say standardize how you're going to do it. But we talk about like how does that actually work and create a single view. And we have set up the piece in a way where we go into massive detail of like exactly what scenarios cause you a bunch of problems that the product tap click solves. This is like putting a demo or a sales call in your blog post. That's why these convert really well. And it's ranking number 1. That's it. That's all I have to say. Anything else you wanted to add?
No, I mean, that goes through it.
Yeah, we will put in the show notes some pieces. Like I had some tabs open here that I didn't get to, but we have a piece called the detail principle of writing good blog posts. And I talk about how like the difference of good and bad is like a bad blog post will make a claim and the good ones will give detail to back that claim. And that's not just like 42% of users surveyed by Harvard said this and that. It's like much more detailed backing that we sort of showed in these examples. And so we'll put that in there and we'll put some other writing related articles we've written for further reading. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. You can also get the audio only versions of these shows wherever you get your podcasts. And you can follow us at growandconvert.com/newsletter for any articles and updates for when these videos come out.